Welcome to the Kee To Growth Podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you're in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now.
Key Marketing specializes in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to build your brand awareness or drive leads using social media ads. If you're ready to elevate your social media, go to keyheartmarketing.com or follow us on social media. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Kee To Growth Podcast. I am so excited about today's guest. We have a mutual friend who is a pretty amazing lady, but we never have gotten the chance to talk. Our mutual friend is Ellen Rohr, but today I get the pleasure of talking to Al Levi. Al, I feel like most people know who you are, but if they don't, please tell us who you are.
Yeah, I was born literally into the trades. I was the third generation in what was at one time heating only. And then later on, we added air conditioning, plumbing, and finally electrical. And so we're based in, the accent doesn't give it away, New York, at Long Island.
I'm like, where is heating only?
Long Island, but yes. Well, it was particular, it was a big market. It was great. We were really doing well, but I could see the handwriting on the wall that if I didn't get into these other trades, that I was going to put other companies in my customers' basement because they were begging us to do that work. And once we got organized and could master our first trade, then when we could apply the same things to the others, which is the operating manuals and the training that made to it and creating the pipeline of all the techs we ever wanted. And we were in New York City union shops, so no small thing.
I love that. I feel like a lot of people have learned from you. And so I don't want to talk about all the same stuff, but I was telling Al whenever we got started that I started the Kee To Growth podcast as a resource for marketing. Whenever you're looking around saying, how am I going to get to the next level? How are these people getting leads when I'm not? And what I learned really quickly through all of my interviews is marketing is really only one piece of it. So Al, you have 7 reasons why, 7 ways to get to that next level. And you have marketing listed as number 5. Are these on purpose in the order, or that's just one of them?
It really isn't in the order. And just so everybody understands, I worked with some of the best contractors who have sold for tons of money or stayed on, and generations have already come through, created generational wealth. But going back into my story, because before I became a consultant on my own for the last 24 years at this point, as I was sitting in your chair, those people who are listening today, and by the way, you have my sympathy because it's not a comfortable chair most days.
Being an operator, not my chair. My chair is comfortable. It's purple and fluffy.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're there physically, but mentally.
I know. I'm just kidding.
So I thought there were 7 million things that I had to get right. Because I couldn't stand, we made money, but it was super stressful. And we didn't even know where the money was coming from. And the mistakes every day was so chaotic. And the way I express it to people, if they want to understand why my tagline has been less stress, more success, because I was making tons of money, but the stress was killing me. And what I always advocate to anybody I've ever spoken to is I was on a path, and if not for my good friends, Ellen Rohr and Dan Holohan, who was another mutual friend between me and Ellen, they said to me I was going to be a really rich dead guy if I didn't change my ways.
No kidding. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that.
Yeah. I was 50 pounds heavier than if you're seeing me today. I was literally eating my stress. I like to eat. New York's got great food, but I was excessive. And it was just, the chaos was so great. And finally, we settled in on the 7 main things that we needed to do. And marketing it's not in an order, but I'll just rattle it off. Planning, though, is always the first thing. Planning power.
Okay.
Then typically it's operating manuals, which is the org chart, which is think of a bingo board for where all the positions of the company. And then how do you cover those squares? And the answer is with an operating manual, which covers about 80% of what goes on. Disregards the 20% weird. It is not like an SOP, standard operating procedures. It's a playbook. So if I was playing football or anything else, how would I be the center? How would I be the wide end? There's a book for that. And I use a book today, obviously electronic, which is where all of the stuff is stored in my learning management system. But the process is still the same, and getting buy-in and getting it in the culture so that they can handle and own their box and get ready to get promoted to the next box, which is what we did. We changed our career attitude at our company back in probably the early to mid 90s. And I had read a book called The Employer of Choice, and it really changed me. And really the takeaway that I shared with my two older brothers and my dad was that if we can promise careers rather than a job, we win. And that was really our whole mindset.
I'm going to bring this up because I could relate to this. And there's like two types of people. There's people like me and Al that love marketing and would sit with marketing all day long. But if you just have a bunch of leads come in and you can't close them, or you close them and you do a terrible job and you piss people off, or you yell at your team and they don't want to do anything that you ask them to, or whatever, then marketing doesn't matter. And all of these other things matter. So you have to like get all the other things ready so that me and Al can sit in the marketing seat until we replace ourselves there. But like, where do you start with the other stuff? So like, you love marketing or you hate marketing. Some people are like, get me out of that seat. I need someone else there. I
totally hear that. And we hear it so much as, 24 years is one-to-one. I really don't know how to do marketing. I'm not really good at it. And Ellen and I, on that org chart that I was talking about, there are two positions that an owner can never give away.
Okay.
They can give away all the other boxes, but one of them is financial manager. And Ellen says, because it's your money.
You need to be looking at your money. Ellen preaches that.
Yes.
You don't have to be the person that's doing all the things, but you need to understand the numbers.
You are well-versed in Ellenism.
Absolutely. I know Ellen's stuff. Well, I don't, but I know what she says. The other thing that Ellen and I
agreed on is you cannot give away the marketing manager box.
Okay.
And the reason you can't do that is because marketing done right, and I've worked with some great marketers before I got there. What I brought to them was how to do marketing systematically and how it's going on and on and on. And really the marketing manager's main job is to help create a marketing plan in writing, not in their head, and then be able to create the three things, the most key things is a marketing budget, which is, think of a marketing budget is, if you want to drive your car somewhere, you better put some fuel in the tank or plug in if you have an electric car. But the point is it determines how far you're going. So what is the budget? The second thing is, it's a million billion ways to go to market. But what are the three main drivers? And what I mean by that, they're not the only drivers, but what is the three drivers that are going to push you to the goal, for your marketing goal, which is how many gross dollars and how much gross profit do you want? And then you reverse engineer that. So there's going to be a mixture of things that will get a high ROI, return on investment, and, have low dollars for gross. And then you'll have things that cost you a lot of money and their ROI may be less, but it's going to get you the gross dollars you need. So there's a blend of this. So you pick three main drivers, and that gets the majority of your focus of time, energy, and money. And then the last one that we all miss, Jen, including yours truly. Yeah, no kidding. There were times that I would pick up my phone just to make sure it was working because I was thinking it was dead. But the reality is, by the way, it's a very good idea to do that every day. Somebody does it to make sure all your numbers are actually working instead of assuming it. But really what it was about is we're busy. Why would I market? And then all of a sudden it falls off the cliff. And now it's too late to catch up. So marketing calendar is that third big piece. And that is set up backwards through the year. So when you come into, because we're already in the middle of 2026, but let's say you go to 2027, you begin to populate your calendar backwards through the year. And what I mean by that is you want to do direct mail postcard campaign. You can't just wake up one day, fall out of bed and go, okay, let's do a direct mail postcard campaign. We have to start with the customer testimonials, which is the glue for any any way you want to make marketing effective. I learned it from my marketing guru, Leo, who I talk about in the book, 7 Powers. He really just put me on his knee and said, Sonny, this is how we do marketing. And so basically, it's a headline gets my attention. I give a little bit of plain English, solve a problem, have a customer testimonial. And here's the part that we all miss is, what's the call to action?
Right.
And marketing is all about that in every different format. But without having a marketing calendar populated through the back of the year where you are automatically set up to do turn it on, turn it off marketing, and coming to social media, which is no longer optional.
Yeah.
There is no company that should not be doing social media. But the question is how you do social media, how often do you do it, who is the face of your social media? All of that is true. But if you don't have testimonials where you're just talking to me, there's going to be a problem. It's not going to have the stickiness that I'm talking about.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's so good. So I want to talk, I want to just clarify on a couple of things, but the main drivers. So you're saying 3 main channels that you're going to focus on because there's so many.
So many.
And so if you try to do all of them at the same time, you're probably not going to do any of them very well. So that's what you mean, right?
Shotgun approach. When I arrive, usually it was shotgun approach, and mine was to be rifle shot. And that really takes a lot of lead tracking. And now, of course, it's better because of the software is getting better, and there's a lot of things that can do better tracking. But even that is not automatic. Because
how do they come? Marketing is an educated guess. Everything that you do is a well-educated guess. This should work. I think it will. I'm going to test it because I've seen other people make it work, or I've done it in the past and it's worked. And it may or may not. But then you have to look at your data, which you didn't include that in there, but I thought you were you got to go back to your data.
Again, we have a half an hour to talk, but it's
right.
it's a feedback loop, just like Ellen, because when she talks about a financial budget, it's a WAG, which is a wild anatomical guess. I cleaned it up for a New Yorker, so I could say it, but it's the same thing with marketing.
Yeah.
It's only as good as you keep plugging the leads back. So actually on our org chart, Ellen and I, when we curated it together, I had one, we just fine-tuned it. Marketing manager is here and the CSRs are underneath them. And everyone I walk into goes, why are the CSRs over here? I go, because the CSRs are like the happy hostess in a restaurant. They make you feel good about the phone call. They build a sales momentum, but they're also a source for our lead tracking and finding out whether or not we're dropping the ball right on the front end. So the way I describe it is your job as marketing manager and making sure that it's being done through the people you work with is think of filling a bathtub with the right amount of calls from the right customer at the right time. That's the 3 rights of marketing.
Right.
And then your job is, if you're any good, you're overfilling the bathtub. Now that's stressful. But if you can do that, well, then you get to decide how much you charge for the work. Where are you going? And there's pressure in a good way to start ramping up staff, which is another thing that I mastered along the way. Here's the catch. Like a bathtub, if your CSRs suck, then your drain is wide open.
Right.
So when I've gone into companies, where we always start is the triangle of communication, CSR to dispatcher to tech, tech back to dispatcher. And as strong as that triangle of communication is, that is the central, fastest thing that fixes your company.
I love that. And interestingly, in this evolution of not just talking to marketing companies, I've talked to a lot of CSR training. And I think that you just, the words that you use were the most clear to me, but just about your CSRs being on the marketing team. And it even gives me the visual of when you're having your marketing meeting, the CSR should be there. It's something that we found in our company, and obviously a marketing company is structured differently, but we're still a business in that we were giving information to the person that originally we were this person needs to know this information. This person needs this training. And then after a few weeks, we're wait. It actually also needs to be these people over here because they're the ones that are directly affecting it. And I see that disconnect in marketing all the time with our clients that the owners know and the marketing people know everything that we're doing on social media, but the CSRs don't know. And then when the customers call in with this information, then it's stopping right there rather than them being educated. So I think that's a huge miss.
You maybe frightfully go back 30 years to it. And I was in my office listening to what was going on with staff, and we ran a great ad, getting a great response. And a CSR would go, hey, are we running anything like an ad on somebody? This lady's on the phone asking about it. Talk about
I know. And so
all of your marketing
I hope
efforts.
everybody feels like you should be like, okay, well, everyone's doing this. That's the first step. So you're not alone. We're all making this mistake, but now it's very clear, and you need to go back and put your CSRs in the marketing meeting, or at least maybe the head of the CSR, so that they can go back and tell them all what's going on.
Somebody's got to get them fully in the loop, because again, I also used marketing up to my CSRs was really the very focal point for me, because when we created an e-newsletter all those many years ago, which now, is basically, when we wrote the stories, it was really about raising a problem. And that goes to like headline writing. If you don't have an intriguing headline, nobody's going to read any further down. When people read newspapers, that was the key thought. But so what is the problem? And when you do that, really it's two things: either put people in a place of pain, or put some people in a place of gain. So an example is, if I could show you how to make twice as much money in half as much time, would you like to know?
Right.
Yeah. Would you like to lose 50 pounds without, feeling hungry every day?
Without doing anything?
Yeah. Yes. You don't want to make it spammy, but the point of it is you have to have something intriguing enough that I'm going to read a little bit of the copy. And then I want to know who says so besides you, because I semi-trust you. I want to see somebody who looks like me saying that this really works. And then what do you want me to do? So that's kind of the same thing. But when it comes to this marketing focus, and I didn't really bring this part of the story, but I'll circle back. Jen and I were chatting before, I was really great at marketing and sales. And my company was really great at blowing up all of my best efforts. So that's how I ended up being the planning, operations, staffing, sales guy, and having to backtrack and fill it so I could get back to what I want. But that also leads to what I was sharing before. Ellen Rohr was really on the team, when we would go together to a mutual client, I'd be the one driving and she'd be in the passenger seat. And she would ask me these questions, anything that came to her head. One day she asked me, she goes, what comes first, Al? Sales or marketing? And instantly I said sales. And she goes, well, if you're not good at marketing and the phone goes dead, you're going out of business. I go, if you're not good at sales, your marketing's going to suck. So it isn't going to make any difference. And what I mean is, as you being the marketing manager, somehow in this company, if you grew it to be on you, you know what makes your customers tick. And guess who also knows what makes your customers tick? Your customer service reps. I would go to them constantly. What are they asking about? What questions they have? I went to my techs, because that was all of the stuff I was loading up for my e-newsletter. And then, of course, social media. Same thing, what I do in my second career as consulting was, what are the things that are problems or challenges, or where are the growth opportunities for the people that I need to reach to go a different way. And that I had this whole thing and started shooting, wrote blogs when blogs were a thing. And then I was writing columns before that. And then, of course, shot video, and I put the video out on YouTube channels and things of that nature, and pretty much followed the same rules. I practice what I preach.
Yeah. No, I think that is something that I always ask my account managers to ask their clients is like, what are people asking right now? And what's great is that with all of these things that are listening to the phone calls now, we have all of these coaching programs that are recording the phone calls. Some of us even have our techs wearing equipment that is recording the conversations. They don't even have to remember anymore. Like, we have all of this data where we should be able to go in and ask these AI tools, like, what are the questions that are being asked? And then you take that language and you bring it back and say it in the language of your customers.
Yeah, I think I think technology with a purpose is great. And so the systems that you're talking about, I'm very familiar with both. Do I think you can do everything without leaving the office and just put your brain on check with nothing? No. Why do I think that? Is because years ago it was explained to me that 70% of conversation is nonverbal. So
I know, right? That is the problem.
I don't know what it is. So I would have the techs come in, and I needed to talk to them about, what are you finding? What are the objections? What are the things that they're worried about? What are the problems they're talking about? The CSRs, they have a phone call, and you can hear in the phone call the inferences and sometimes it's what's not said is as important as what is said. So there's a lot of coaching that needs to go on beyond just listening to the word.
That is such a good point. So I want to come back to the last thing that you talked about with like the 3 things that the marketing manager or the owner needs to be putting in place here. And that is the marketing calendar. And I really loved how you talked about it being backwards, because so often we find ourselves in a position of like, oh, you know what we should be doing right now? We should be doing XYZ. And like the truth is that most marketing needs a lot more time than right now. Like there is so much that goes into making a really great campaign. And I can't think of one marketing idea or marketing campaign that we could literally just like ideate and launch in one day. And whether it's social media, whether it's a mailer, whether it's even an offer, like you need to go in there and see if the offer makes sense, if you have the capacity for it, if it is profitable. Like there's so much that goes into it. So I think that really, but I also know as a business owner that sometimes it's really hard to come up with these ideas, especially when you're just starting off. After you have some like years behind you, you can kind of like, you have a little bit more understanding, you know what's out there. But when you're just starting, it's really hard to like determine a budget and determine a calendar. Do you have any ways that can make it easier?
Yeah, take this as rule of thumb, but usually the best way, and Ellen does this financially for clients, which is the rule of thumb that I was taught all those years ago, and really is still a pretty good guideline. You can always do better. And when I say this, there's many paths to success, but this one I know is a tried and true path. If you're not spending 4% of total sales on marketing, so let's just make it, if it's $1 million, that's what, $40,000, I think. So 40, that is what you need to just replace the customers that are dying, leaving, selling their house. Yeah. So it's just to keep you where you are. You don't even hit what I call aggressive until you're at least 10% of sales. So in that million scenario, that's $100,000. There's a couple of tricks to this. So if one of the things that I love is really well stand-up trucks, because you can have the materials you need when you go out. Because as a tech, crawling through a truck, I can tell you, is pretty miserable. You're not going to have what you need. Plus, you lose the whole billboard effect. And it's one of the best marketing because it's in the areas where you serve. And if you do spend the money for the branding, which I did years ago before I met somebody who's really great at it. And now he's taking care of all of that. But I worked very closely with that because my company got rebranded. My dad and my uncle, our area went under urban renewal, and they had to go acquire companies to where the customers were moving to. So they felt everybody wanted to keep the same name. So they had 10 different company names. So I was at a Super Bowl party at the neighbor's house. And as New Yorkers would be, 2 were getting into a heated argument. So I was very curious. I went up and go, I'm sorry, what are you arguing about? Well, I'm telling this guy, I have the best heating company. The other guy goes, you don't know what a good heating company is. Jen, they both used me and they had no idea.
Oh, no way. That's so fun.
Yeah. That was the birth of me. I was telling the story to my dad and my brothers the next day. And my dad, in the middle of the story, picks up a phone and starts dialing. I go, what are you doing? He's going, I'm going to call somebody who's going to fix this. I go, who? He goes, his name is Leo Barron. He works on Madison Avenue. For those that don't know, Madison Avenue was the highest of highest marketing.
Yeah. So they didn't know your name.
Yeah.
That was the problem because they didn't remember the branding.
They kept them in silos. So he said, he'll take my call. And then he spoke to Leo, and Leo's one command was, give me one of your sons to work with me. And I was selected. So I worked with him and, but basically he rebranded the truck. He helped pick a color. And it was a story I always tell about it. The color it had to be green because of fuel oil, which is like propane. New York City had rules and regulations. So I was thinking like Kelly green, something that wouldn't be too bright. And he looks at the color chart. He goes, oh, this will be really good. And I go, oh, that's disgusting. Basically what it was is like National Car Green.
Yeah.
But I was just
Yeah.
thinking, he looks at me and he goes, I didn't ask you to wear a suit this color. Here's what I'm telling you. Once we do the whole truck this way and you put the logo on sideways and towards the back of the truck and we get rid of all the other junk on your truck right now, people are
Yeah.
going to see your trucks 5 blocks away. And I remember what I came to understand. Trust Leo. And sure enough, it looked like I had 5 times as many trucks when they all hit the road. There was no more confusion because we branded under one name and it looked great, to the point that my competition was calling me up and go, I see your trucks everywhere.
Yeah.
Who
That's
do you
the
use?
best.
So I learned a lot about branding. Branding does have a huge part in making your journey to marketing easier. I wanted to get one thing because you mentioned about experience. So in planning, when I would go there, I would ask for certain things. And when I got there, I'd have 2 days visiting. And one of the sections, of course, was big. It was marketing. So I go, tell me what type of marketing have you done that's really been successful? And what marketing have you been disappointed with? So invariably, the marketing that they were disappointed with in any size company was a radio campaign or a TV campaign. And I go, well, how long did you let it run? And they go, 3 months and we didn't get any calls. Well, I said, well, so it's usually 8 months to a year. And if you don't have 3 frequency, which means your ideal customer would hear it 3 times in a week, your money was wasted. And then there was the funniest one where there was 2 guys up in the Boston area. And I go, what's worked really well? And they go, oh, we have this huge town festival and we used to give out ice cream coupons. We had a booth there. We generated so many leads, it would give us leads for equipment for like 6 months.
Wow.
And I go, wow, how's it doing today? And they looked at each other and they started to laugh. Oh yeah, we forgot to put it on the calendar. So we haven't been in the show for a couple of years.
So crazy. Something that works so well. And I think that, even just that in general, getting out in the community is like the most, I'm going to say inexpensive, just like relatively, but it takes so much time that people tend to like not want to do it. Even when you have the time or people in your company have the time and they're like, like put it on the back burner. Getting out there and meeting people in person and then capturing their information somehow so that you can get back to them is like one of the easiest ways. And then people get to know you. They shake your hand. It's like such a great way to make an impression and to get new leads and to like be a part of the community. There's so many wins. And typically it's not that expensive.
No, it's not. You do have to be selective as to which shows you go into. You want to have a dramatic impact. You really have to know the demographics of it. And you need to go into that show where you really stand out. It's better to do a couple of shows really well than to be in every show that's out there.
Yeah.
I would say the other thing that you hit on is a really key thing before it slides out of my head, Jen. I'd love to tell you that you have to be great at marketing, and you should be. But one of the key things that's overlooked is repetition, 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 repetition. So you can have the best social media post and then not do another one for 6 months. It's useless.
For
it has
sure.
to be out all the time. And you, as the face of the company, have to be that face out there. The best of the ones that we worked with have been the owners and the managers, and they're talking about the problems and they're sharing this information and they're closing with a testimonial. And they're saying, if you're interested, give us a call. Here's what we can do in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, repetition on social media is great. That's what makes the difference. Way more than virality is consistency.
Yeah.
But you just said it about the owner being the face of the business too, which so many owners don't want to do. And you do you, boo, like whatever. But when you do, you can make such a massive impact for your company, and you can do that on social media. You can do that in person. It's the same as that's part of my marketing funnel, is being the face of the business. And sometimes it can get sticky, but like it's such a great asset that you have. And so to shy away from it, it can really be a disservice.
Well, I am a former New Yorker. When people would tell me I don't want to do that, I go, great. So when do we want to close out the business?
I'm right. I know. Like there's so many things you have to do that you don't really want to do.
And Jen, people who have been listening or watching this for a while think that, I was born like this. I was not. I was extremely shy.
Yeah.
All through high school and the rest of it. And when I got out of college, my dad's first job for me was going door to door doing sales. And I did everything wrong. I was staring at my feet. I didn't, and doors were being closed on me. And guess what? I got over my shyness because I had to. And you have to. Whoever's listening here today, I know you have to take on a different personality. If anybody's ever watched me on stage, that's Al on steroids. I'm not like that every day.
But it takes practice, and it takes, and you're not going to be great at it. And I just immediately started thinking about like who's doing this in the industry. But like Tommy Mello is a great example. Like he didn't come out of a box like that.
Yeah, Tommy's still the best. Still the best. But he's not alone. I think,
no,
Chloe,
he's not.
Chloe and Ben up in Express in Idaho are phenomenal. They just keep turning out good information. You can just feel the sincerity. And speaking of sincerity, when I first started all those many years ago and I got out speaking, I was lucky enough to have a speech coach who was out there had been running 12 speakers around the country. She didn't want to be living on the road anymore. And she would sit in the back of the room and, cross her eyes or do this, like hanging herself. And at the end, we would debrief. And I go, I don't know how I did there. She goes, listen, you could drool for an hour. One thing that people are buying more than your content is your authenticity. They know that you know. They're not guessing that you're knowing. They know that you have all the scars that are ever out there and you have a way and a path to get free of it. And that is why they're in those seats.
Yeah. And that's why, just going to social media, that's why it's going to be hard for AI to really replace you in your social media
I totally
because
agree.
That's like where we get to authentically connect with people online when we can't get with them in person. And so when you want AI to just do all your work, and people talk about it all the time now from a written standpoint, like I see people on social media, like when you're putting a bunch of like ChatGPT written content
AI
out there, like why do you want me to read it when you're not even putting in the time to write it? That just doesn't make any sense.
I totally agree with that. That's such a good point. Yeah, I'd love if you could put it on autopilot. You can automate things, do automate what you can, but think of it.
There's so much that we can automate that can help us like remember things and get things done efficiently.
I think the thing that my biggest takeaway is AI is good. It's going to get better. But for the meanwhile, to know this, AI is the best virtual assistant you'll ever have. Having said that, would you delegate stuff to a virtual assistant and never check it?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right. That's so true. We have talked about so many incredible things and we're coming to the end here. But at the end of every podcast episode, we ask all of our guests the same question. So you are on the Kee To Growth podcast. So what would you say is the key to growth?
I think the key to growth is where I start with is a plan. And Ellen always refers to a comment, which is, and she said this 1,000 times to all of our clients, plan or be planned for.
Yeah.
And that is so true. You can tweak a plan, you can edit a plan, you can build on a plan, but if you have no plan, wake up every day falling out of bed without a really plan. And a plan is in writing. Otherwise, it's a dream. It's not anything on a path for reality. That's why budgeting is in writing. That's why marketing is in writing. All of the systems that I talk about is in writing.
It's so true. I love that. It actually just gave me a really great mental picture of even like your day-to-day life, like having a plan for that. Otherwise, you have those days where you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing today. Just like
when I was getting time to think about when I was leaving my career, because I gave 3 years notice, it was the first time I ever created the 10 golden rules for my business I was creating and the 10 golden rules for my personal life. And I said, they have to mesh. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be back getting the same thing. And I've taught many people in leadership how to do that.
That's so good. Okay, so if people want to get more information, I know you have some freebies out there, some great resources. Where can they find you? Where can they find those things?
Yeah, the best place is to go to my website, the number 7 powercontractor.com. There's a jumpstart guide, which is free. And there's all of my blogs, and there are a ton of blogs.
And sign up for your newsletter.
I have newsletters. I have opt-in for that. There's a lot of great information. I've got it categorized and searchable. And if you're interested, yes, the products, the 2 main products that are up there is the operating manuals and the org charts, and then how to build, text from scratch, which is which we mastered.
I love that. And then you're on social media. They can connect with you there.
Yes, they can find my my handles and the rest of it. I am the face, but I am not the one that's getting it all out in the world. I have people for that.
It's always good. We did talk about, I think off camera, the importance of having help, because there's only so much you can do until you start bottlenecking all of your growth and all of the things you want to accomplish.
You want to learn the formal steps of delegation, which Tommy locked onto, because one day I just told him as I watched him walk around his office, I go, you don't delegate, you dump. He goes, what do you mean? I go, there's 8 steps, which I'm going to teach you. And from now on, this is what you walk around and it's in writing. Otherwise, it was just a nice waste of time.
Right. So good. Oh my gosh, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for your time today. I know we only talked about marketing, so we could probably do 6 other episodes about all of the other powers, but thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. I appreciate it.